All right, we're back on ABC News Live with this week's social story. That's where we post 3 stories on our social media and you decide what we take a closer look at. This week's choices: Trump reclassifies marijuana, Avatar behind the scenes, and airline loyalty changes. And with 46% of the vote, you chose the president reclassifying marijuana as a less dangerous drug, moving it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. Cannabis is currently classified in the same category as heroin, ecstasy, and LSD under the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. Joining me now for more, Executive Director, Coalition for Cannabis Policy, Education, and Regulation, Shanita Penny, and Co-Chair, Coalition for Cannabis Scheduling Reform, Tim Barash. Shanita, I want to start with you. The president says the reclassification does not allow for recreational use. So how does this actually impact the industry?
Thanks for having me. What the president's executive order does is actually look at medical marijuana. And so this executive order is going to improve the research around medical marijuana as well as CBD. It does not state that there will be increased research or access for adult use cannabis. Until a final rule is actually made on this, cannabis still is a Schedule 1 drug and it remains federally illegal. So the real, opportunity here in terms of industry impacts, it really comes in the way of tax relief. It allows these state licensed medical marijuana businesses to, in a future state, take the ordinary business deductions that other businesses are allowed to take, and it will reduce their tax liability and free up a lot of money for them to, potentially serve the medical cannabis market better.
Now, Tim, Shanita just said it's not going to lead to increased research, but Trump's saying the complete opposite, saying it's going to open up the floodgates for new scientific research. So how so, and what kind of research can we actually expect here?
Yeah, I think we're seeing, as the federal policy gets closer to where 42 states and where 80% of Americans already live in terms of these state legal markets, you're just going to see more commerce, more research in general. And they did absolutely speak about research on not just CBD products, but also these medical THC products. So I think we expect, as the federal policy continues to shift in the way that the vast majority of Americans want it to be, I think it's been quoted between 70 and 82% of people do actually support federal change on cannabis. You are going to see a lot more research over time. And so I think, very exciting for the industry and for people suffering from a variety of different conditions where this can be a great form of medicine for them.
Now, Shanita, could this change trigger, let's say, a cultural shift around the perception of marijuana?
Absolutely. This is already had a tremendous impact in reducing the stigma around cannabis. When you hear from patients and consumers that have been positively affected and impacted by, their use of medical marijuana and CBD products, when you see everyone from childhood epilepsy patients to cancer patients, as well as veterans suffering with things like PTSD, it does allow people to, look at cannabis differently and not just for what it's typically known for. If you were just looking at the fact that, yes, it is an intoxicating substance, and there are people who use it for, adults who choose to use it for recreational purposes.
And Tim, drug policy advocates have also argued for this for a long time. Why does all of this matter to people who actually consume marijuana?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's over 50 years in the making, so definitely a really big week for the industry and just for the country. I think as it continues to get more and more normalized, you're going to see more institutional capital providers, banks, networks, all kinds of different pieces of the Main Street economy just be able to support this industry in a more normal way. And as it was mentioned, fix some of the really wild tax policy that affected this industry for many years. So it's really just making this, it's on the corner of a lot of towns in America now, and just really leveling the playing field so that these businesses can operate in a normal way and just consistently deliver good, tested, age-gated products to the consumers that want it for medicinal and other reasons.
All right, Shanita Penny and Tim Barash, thank you both so much for this information.